Hi, this is David Browder from St. Thomas Episcopal Church, once again resuming our study in Ezra. We are actually in chapter 7 of the book of Ezra. In between chapter 6 and 7, about 2 generations have gone by, have lived and died, been born and died. And so we have a new generation here of people. And in this 2 generations, something has happened. And something has happened that is wont to happen to most people, to all people. There's been a drift. There's been a drift away from God. There's been a drift to something else, and we're going to learn about that something else after chapter 7 is going to be told to us. But in that drift, you know, what we know and what we know from life and what we know from the Bible is that you can't twist the nature of reality, the fabric of reality, and not have it snap back on your hand. That just happens. And you know it. You've done it. I've done it. Well, we've just sort of defined reality based on the way we perceive it, and then it comes back to haunt us big time. And this is what has happened here. And it's very important to understand that, and it's very important to understand that there is objective truth out there, and that God has revealed His objective truth in His Word. And that's where Ezra comes in. And this is Ezra 7 here, verse 6. And I'm going to read this to you. This Ezra went up from Babylonia. Of course, he was in the place of Babylonia would be the place of modern day Iraq. And he was a scribe skilled in the law of Moses that the Lord, the God of Israel, had given. And the king granted him all that he asked, for the hand of the Lord, his God, was on him. So Ezra was God's agent for reform. And when we're talking about reform, we're talking about reforming around a truth that is outside of yourself, reforming around an objective truth. And this objective truth is given in the law of God. Now, we all know that shoulds, oughts, we've all heard these things. You know, should do this, you ought to do that. And we all know that those sorts of things don't convert people. If you've ever have a child, if you have a spouse, you should do this, you should do that. We know that it doesn't carry the weight that it needs to carry to convert someone. But promise does. Promise and mercy and forgiveness. And when we think about Torah, when we think about the law of God, we're not just thinking about law in the sense of demand, in the sense of telling somebody what they ought to do. We're also being told of promise. Promise for people who have twisted reality to their own liking and had it snap back on them. That is in the Old Testament, in Torah, the first 5 books of the Bible, as well as the New Testament. And you know somebody, I know somebody. One of the reasons I so associate myself with the evangelical part of the Christian church is because of profound conversion, the emphasis on conversion, that God's mercy and God's grace permeates and strikes at the heart of someone who has twisted reality and has felt the snapback on them so profoundly, and expecting something like condemnation, and yet getting grace, yet getting mercy. This is profound, and this is something that we ought to think about as we think about reforming. What are we reforming around? We're reforming around the gospel of Jesus Christ, the grace of God. And so as we go on through the book of Ezra, we're going to find out what the transgression was, and we're going to see a little bit of the conversion part. Until then, God bless you, and I'll see you next time.